Good evening, Simon here, Explosive Action, and I am back finally with my long overdue OG metal LP update. 9 thrash and heavy metal records to take a look at, so let's get into it. The first one I've got to show here is a German band from 1988. This is a power speed metal kind of thing. And I've got to thank Brendan Von Doom, BVD, you all know well, for this and 2 others. He didn't sell them to me, he didn't give them to me, he let me know these things existed. There is a record shop called Dutch Vinyl. He let me know that there was some good stuff there, and I jumped on them. 3 records that I have to attribute to him today. And the first one here, this is, what an amazing cover, Mania, Wizard of the Lost Kingdom. Man, look at that demon, that devil with his little beard and giving us the squint. That's fantastic. I love this artwork. It's so cheesy. Just like, look, he's forging a guitar. Isn't that amazing? He's actually forging out his metal. Anyway, it's only 23 minutes long, but what do you get here? This is total, like, mid-era Judas Priest, some Halloween, like there's double kicks, there's soaring vocals, often quite harmonized. There's lots of shredding, neoclassical type solos, which are very tasty. Yeah, the whole thing really is just like a very atypical 80s German power metal for like fans of Scanner and Halloween. So what you get here with Mania, I can't say much more about it. I mean, it's 23 minutes, it's only an EP. Starts with this sort of spooky synth intro to let you know, yes, you're into Dungeons, Dragons and Demons, which if the cover didn't give away, I don't know how it's going to help you, but anyway, yeah, this is just good. It's just solid stuff. Yeah, it's the kind of just more traditional but with force heavy metal that I've been really seeking a lot of these days. You know, like not the lower tier Mausoleum Records heavy metal, which you listen to and go, man, that's more hard rock, or you know. No, I want the stuff that's got some power to it, and I like digging and finding these one-off type things. So these guys are not a one-off. There was an album that came out in 1988 that followed this that I'm now on the search for, because this thing is really good. And okay, if you thought the cover was good, let's just take a nice close look here at the band photo. This is probably going to be one of the best band photos I have ever seen. They're all in matching like cyan, blue and black leathers, with like, this guy's got like his dressing like material there, like, oh my god, the headband, the big perm, just everything is amazing on this. Absolute, like this guy's trying his moustache and failing. So good. I could look at this all day. But I'm not going to. But anyway, as I said, I'm just digging this stuff lately, which is why I'm so desperate to find like the Liege Lord albums. Really need to get some Liege Lord into the collection. But at the moment, I will just deal with having some Mania. Really cool stuff. Out on Noise Records. You get the obligatory Noise collage. This one is quite a large one. Got some good stuff on it there. Lyric sheet. And yeah, I won't bother showing you most of these, or any of them, because they're all black. There's nothing exciting about any of these records. But that just so good. 7 tracks, 3 and then 4. Mufti's Departure. Is this Mufti? I don't know. Maybe it's Mufti. I have no idea. But either way, Wizard of the Lost Kingdom, solid EP. You thought that Mania cover could not be topped in this update? Look at this. Look at it! This is epic. That's what this is. This is a band called Torch. The album is also called Torch. And that cover is... I hold a torch to these people. It's... Anyway. Swedish heavy metal, 1983, quite early. It's... I'll talk a bit about this one. So it starts with like a really simple kick drum intro. It leads into this hard rocking, hard driving riff in the opening song's called Warlock. It always stays on the heavier side of metal, like in that Mania album before. I was just saying, you know, I'm really getting into the stuff that is on the stronger side of metal, like the quality Mausoleum and not the less quality Mausoleum. This is again on that, it's just past that middle level of quality Mausoleum, so I'm on the good side here. You know what I'm talking about when I say the not so heavy mausoleum stuff. But this torch, always staying on that side and not the sleaze rock and the blues and the boogie and all that noise. Just it's metal. It's just straight up metal. The singer is a bit more like a restrained Lizzie Borden. A bit more. I actually listened to it the first time. I went, this sounds like, you know, Ace Frehley, but like better and more metal. And I kind of stuck with it the whole time. Don't know if it's just my ears hearing that, but yeah, it did sound a bit like, you know, Kiss vocals, but metal, not arena rock, you know. So that was kind of cool. The second track, we'll flip over the back here. Actually, there's no... Oh, yes, they are. Behind the Obi. Try we'll put down a little bit. There's the tracks. We get Warlock, Beauty and the Beast is the second track. That's got a really memorable riff, and it's a bit more adventurous on the drum side. These guys are Swedish, so it's quite melodic. The whole album's quite melodic. Though this one... Okay, this one's got the cringe lyrics. 1983, heavy metal. You're going to get some cringe lyrics. Okay, let me read this one out. I'm going to put them up here as well so you can read along as well. You get to a point in the song towards the very end where it sort of just peels back and it's just sort of, you know, bass guitar and drums. The guitars are gone and it's like the singer is talking to someone in the audience and like pointing the finger out to them. This is what he says. Hey honey, get your knee pads on because we're gonna make love. Don't waste my precious time. I ain't got time to fuck around. You're my beauty queen, and I'll be your dribbling beast. That's just... And if he pointed at me in the crowd and said that, I would have just been panties on the stage. I mean, that is... Whew, that's how you get somebody. Or maybe not. But it ends with like the thunderous double kick and crunchy guitars. Like, so they're not that sleaze band. They've just got occasional stupid lyrics. They know they're metal, you know, which is good. The third track, Watcher of the Night, that's got like proto thrash metal, kill 'em all kind of stuff here. Remember, this is 1983, and there's a riff on here that sounds like the grandfather to Metal Militia. That's a good thing. Again, maybe it's just my ears, but I really did hear that. Just notice the Obi's got Man of War and Heavy Load album covers on there, which is really cool. So, yeah, I mean, and that track, it hits a lot of marks in just 3 minutes, which is, you know, they're Swedish. They try and pack a lot of good stuff, lots of melody, lots of hooks into their songs. The side A closes called Beyond the Threshold of Pain. That's a real ripper. Ends with like a bombardment of double kicks. They do like their double kicks. 1983 as well. Lots of good double kicks. Side B opens up with one called Battle Axe. That's fun. It has a riff that's just all chug, chug, chug. I like my chuggy riffs. Hatchet Man, second song in there. That's like a proto power metal song. Constant double kick through that one. Just loving the double kicks, and I love my double kicks, so I'm here for that. And the last three tracks, they're fine, but it does taper off a little bit. They're not as memorable. But then we get to the final track, Gladiator, and that's when they really bring the speed. A solid Swedish heavy metal album with that glorious, glorious artwork. Obviously, it's the Japanese version. Came with the Obi strip. I found this in Utopia Records in the city. Somebody dumped a small collection. There's a bunch of Sirathungol and things like that, but they're quite overpriced. There's the LP. But this Torch was not. I thought it was quite reasonable, so I picked this one up. And it's really, really good condition. So there you go. Torch, self-titled. Look at that cover. Metal. What a ripping slab of speedy heavy metal this next album is. This is a band I wasn't entirely sure I was going to get into. I'll talk a little bit more about my history with the band, but this is a cracker. This is Lizzie Borden, Menace to Society. Look at that great cover there. It looks more 90s than it does 80s. Like, this looks, you know, they got the 1990 Slayer glasses on and riding a tank thing or commando chainsaw. It does feel more like 91, but it's not. This is definitely 80s. This is really good. So I got the debut EP from this band called Give 'Em the Axe. I found it at a record fair a few months ago. I showed that in a video. That was a really great find, and I dug it. There's only 3 tracks, I think, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to get more Lizzie Borden. I thought, oh, maybe that's all I need. I listened to some random later stuff, and that was definitely not for me. But I didn't listen to this cover, this album, probably because I saw the cover and went, oh god, I don't know, they're going to turn into glam, or it's going to be Twisted Sister or something. How wrong was I? This came up online and I thought, alright, let's give it a listen. and I thought it was fantastic. And I know my boy Extra the Mutilator, he's a big fan of Lizzie Borden, so that was in the back of my head too. Gave it a listen, and yeah, really, really, really good album. The opening track on this, I'll flip to the other side. There's the band again. Baseball bats and stuff. Missiles. America! Got everything here. Generation Aliens, first track. It is such a ripper. When I heard that track online, this thing was in my cart before it was even done. Like, it was one of those deals. I'm like, right, okay, we're done. Add to cart. It's fantastic. Great ripping song. The second track, Notorious. That's got a real fantastic lick. Like a real solid pace to that thing. Another solid track. Terror on the Town. So that is a real foot stomper. And speaking of Twisted Sister, to my ears, if Twisted Sister were like proper solid metal band and not hard rock MTV kind of thing, I think that's what they might have done. They might have done Terror on the Town. It's a good track. I really like that one. Real overall fantastic crunchy production on this album. Like, it's actually top tier A+ heavy metal sound here. You turn it up and it just gets louder and clearer and no distortion. It's just a really good sounding album. So I love that. The vocalist, of course, is Lizzie Borden, and he shines through with so much strength and power in his vocals. Really clean, very well sung vocals, lots of harmonies. He's a great singer. Fourth track, Bloody Mary. Okay, so that's a bit more reserved. Comes in with a bass lick, acoustic guitars, and then it gets sort of power ballady, and I was a little worried for a second there, but it never gets proper power ballad. It's still just crunchy heavy metal. It's just slowed down. It's heavy as balls, to be honest, and crunches along. So no worries there. If you're afraid of ballads like I am, it's not gonna skin you. It's a good track. And then Stiletto, Voice of Command. That's the fastest and like most brutal. Brutal. It's the fastest track on this side. It's just absolute rippers. So there you go. That's side A. I mean, the whole thing is just fantastic. The twin guitars hammering along all through this. Lots of good harmonies on twin guitars. Side B's no slouch. The second track on that one, Love Kills, has some really great twin guitar harmonies that really stood out. The guys in here know what they're doing. They really do. And this is their second album. There's one before it, which I might be able to acquire a copy of, so watch this space. Yeah, I mean, the final track on this one, Menace to Society, the actual album song, that's an absolute belter of a closer. That's how you close an album, leave them wanting more. This is great. This is top tier American heavy metal. It is just metal all the way through. And I'm actually honestly surprised how much I like it. It's really, I mean, it's the friggin' American flags and the logo. It's just metal. What do we get in here? We get the LP on black. So this one's out on Enigma. So large label. And it is in a, gotta be careful with this because it's got no bottom. It's in a gatefold thing that's got really cool comic drawing of the band. Really, really cool, and logo and lyrics there on the back. So I'll put that in after. But yeah, Lizzie Borden, Menace to Society. I'm honestly surprised how much I like this, but really, really good stuff. Next one is from Abattoir. This is The Only Safe Place. Got this one off Facebook sales, only arrived a couple of days ago. So this band, 2 albums is all they ever did. 80s albums, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it opens really strong, has a guitar, sort of acoustic intro, and then a solo that goes over the sound of like wind and church bells, you know, giving you your ambiance. But then the first riff kicks in, massive crunch, and we are off to thrash races on that. It kind of, it's kind of, I don't want to say a bit of a tease, but it is, the opening track is the fastest, thrashiest thing on the album, and we'll get to the rest of the tracks in a minute, but you know, it's a solid opener. 1986, this thing came out. It's more speed metal and a sort of US power metal than it is thrash, as you might think of it. The vocals are soaring, but there's still grit to them. Dirty sounding riffs, a real rumbly bass to it. Quite peppery drums. I like the drums. Gang shouts in the chorus. I mean, everything I'm explaining to you sounds like standard thrash from the 80s, but It is a bit more, yeah, sort of speed metal, not quite attaining thrash. It approaches it. The first track is as close as it gets, and that very final track, which I'll talk about as well. But it is more in the speed metal sound. This is not a bad thing. It is a good, solid album. I got Vicious Attack, that's their 1985 album. A few updates ago I showed that one, so now I've got the matching pair. There's only 2 albums. Yeah, it's good. The second track, moving on, we've got the Only Safe Place. Second track, there's an intro, then the first track, and then the Only Safe Place, so third track if you want. That's got like the most chugga, like the most definition of chug kind of riff that I've heard in a long time. Plods along with this chuggy riff, and then we're back into speed territory. The vocals get even soaringer, more soaring. There is an excess of soaring that is, yeah, the vocals are right up there. They're good, I quite like them. These guys sort of fit more into the Agent Steel sound than they do Slayer. Like, it's not that type of speedy, thrashy stuff. It is definitely more in the Agent Steel. Nothing Sacred, next track. That's when it starts to, you start realizing that you're not dealing with a thrash band. It's very kind of big arena, heavy rock kind of song, that one. You know, more Eye of the Tiger than Master of Puppets, I suppose. It's got a bit of a feel to it like that. It's not bad, it's just different. It even has a keyboard in it. It still has that metal edge, which is the important thing here. It's still very much a metal album. They just don't always hit the speed or the thrash, right? Side A closer and side B opener starts to bring back the heavy sound again. So Hammer of the Gods and then Back to Hell. Back to Hell is particularly good. And Temptation of the Flesh, that one's kind of got like a Maiden riff in that kind of gallopy sound. Under My Skin, that one's kind of more Motorhead, bit of D beat kind of there. You know, it's got that speed where it's just sort of you know, that D beat kind of Motorhead thing when they're really rocking out. And yeah, then this track called SBD, don't know what that is, Feel the Fire. That's got like this backmasking devil speak in it, so you know it's a metal album, of course. And then the final track, Night of the Knife, it takes us back, being the second fastest song on the album. It's nearly thrash again. And so overall, like, it's a solid metal album. I don't think it's as good as the debut. Metal Archives reviews tends to agree with me, whereas the first one's up in the sort of the 80s, 90%. This one's more in the low 70s to early 80s%. So, you know, it's still a good album. It's just not as good as the debut. But yeah, it's just solid stuff. More speedy US metal, but on Noise Records. Again, I'm taking out a black LP. Don't really need to. There you go, Abattoir. No inner sleeve on this one, I think. There was meant to be one of those thrash collage noise sleeves, but I don't have it on this one. Just what you see is what you get. So there you go. Abattoir, The Only Safe Place. A pretty solid follow-up to the debut. So this next one comes with a bit of a story, but I'll talk about the music first. This is Attila, Rolling Thunder, a one-and-done US heavy metal band. Put this album out in 1986. Just straight-up, gritty heavy metal for fans of Exciter or accept at their heavier sound. Attila, that's sort of what you're getting here. Full throttle, crowd-pleasing tunes. Just, there's no real speed, there's no thrash, it's just iron fists and that truck with a missile on it. Rolling Thunder. It is a rolling thunder of metal. That's what you get here. Early metal church, bit of that sound. Even sometimes I hear things like Satan, like that you know, new wave British heavy metal sound, just a little bit in there. But really, this is just riffs upon riffs over a driving beat. All the songs are just riffs. Really good. The vocals sometimes have a bit of the gang shouts in the background again. This is one that you could definitely just play loud in the car with the windows down and just heavy metal wind going through your hair, your long locks, and you just, yeah, I'm Rolling Thunder. That's what's going on. It's just metal. It's just a metal album. Double kicks, not so much. Few and far between. It does come out every now and then. The guitar tone I really like, and the guitar tone itself makes you think of thrash. It is not at all a thrash album, but it has that tone, that Bay Area sound to the guitar tone. So that's really good, really makes it very heavy sound. The second track, flicking over here, Enjoy the Band. Amazing, look at that. Looking a little bit hair metal, but don't you worry, don't you worry. Second track here, Urban Commandos, which are these guys, they're the Urban Commandos. It ends with this, the 8 bars of bass rumbling, like really jolted me out of my regular rocking out. Like it ended kind of strange. This bass just doing a thing. Wasn't expecting that, kind of threw me off. But then the third track, March of the Kings, that continued on in my strangeness. It started with like a real pompous and cheesy medieval synth. Like, what's going on here with this album? That sounded a bit more Dungeons and Dragons, like you'd find on Attacker or something like that. But then it gives way to a thundering riff, and we are back in metal territory. And yeah, it sort of goes on like that. The fourth track, Defcon 1, is just an instrumental, has like a air raid siren thing going on there. I mean, the whole thing is nuclear. Like the logo's got nuclear in it. 1986, think of the time, think of the place, think of this missile, think of what's going on here, right? You are just right in the Cold War. You've just watched War Games and now you're listening to Attila. That's what's going on. And then side A closer, Thermonuclear Warrior. That is an absolute ripping of a song. Chug, chug, chug riffs, big dive bomb at the end. You know I love my dive bombs. There's nothing here that reinvents, right? It's just heavy metal, and I really, really dig it. Just that hint of thrash in the production without having the speed of thrash. Side B is just as good. You could probably see why the band didn't get that much of an audience, like One and Done. It's 1986, and you haven't got the speed of the thrash bands. You've got the grit. Where do you really fit in, I suppose? I mean, I can't go back and really understand the time, but that might explain something here. Maybe people were expecting the speed and they didn't get it. They were too busy listening to Slayer to listen to Attila. I'm not sure. But it's a good album, really solid album. Now, I'll tell you a little about the story. It is an OG, as you can see, and it does have this little cutout here. So, if you watch Brendan Von Doom's video, he has told his part of this story as well. I was looking around on Amazon, as I do, Amazon Australia, and I saw, just looking through records just randomly, I sort by cheapest price, select metal, sort by cheap, just see what comes up. And this thing was there. It was 17 Australian dollars, which is nothing. Current exchange rates, that's like 12 bucks, 11, 12 bucks US. But I go, oh, okay, look, one of the OG, but that price, I'll get a reissue. Had a look, it said 2017 JDC. That was the name of the label that Amazon put it on the. Okay, whatever, buy. It arrived the next day because I got Prime, yes. And this showed up, which is clearly an OG. And if you look at these photos here, you'll see the sticker that was on it, which had this classic 80s metal thing on it. And that was covering this corner here. So, what I think has happened here is somebody or some label has acquired a bunch of dead stock promo copies of this album, flogged them to Amazon. It had a barcode sticker that was over the back here that was nothing to do with it. It was just a barcode sticker so that Amazon Pick and Pack could go beep. And that's what they're selling. Now, I don't know if you went and tried this on Amazon US or UK, if you would end up with one of these. I have absolutely no idea, but I know Amazon Australia, last time I checked, still had a copy, at least one, and it was still the same price. So you could go try your luck, and you might end up with an OG promo copy with a corner cutout. Amazing stuff. Attila, Rolling Thunder, solid metal. Next up, we've got some reasonably obscure Australian power metal from 1987, released on the very small Metal for Melbourne label. This is THRASH with Queen of Thieves. This is pretty inventive, progressive metal. Kind of really keeps you guessing when you're listening to this one. The band, definitely at the time, 1987, they've been listening to some Fate's Warning. That's pretty obvious. It's just, yeah, it goes on so many journeys that you never quite know where it's going. Like the passages just keep changing up. I also hear, which is probably coincidental, but Italian band Dramelch, I hear that. It's just that kind of style, like the progressive mid to late 80s heavy metal. that's what THRASH were doing. And it's really good. Musically, it's really good. The songs are really good. There are some issues. The mix is all over the shop on this thing. The first track is vocal heavy, like it is right out there, which is fine if you like Shane Southby's vocals. We'll get to that in a minute. But then on the second track, I'll flip it over here. Nice, cool drawing. Second track doesn't seem he's way back in the mix. Like now he's the last instrument. Then on the third track, he's the Chosen. He's dominant, like right on top. And he's a bit off key. At least that's what I heard. He sounded a little bit off key. Maybe it's because he was pushed so much to the top. I don't know. You know, it's got the guitars are quite thin. The bass is way too loud. The kick drum sounds kind of wet, like hitting wet paper. Like I've got a lot of complaints, but it's mainly around the mix, and I'm not a huge fan of the vocals. But musically, instrumentally, this band kicks ass. They do. They really knew what they were doing. Very, very technical and clean and progressive sounding heavy metal. They just go on nice journeys with the music, and I really, really enjoy it. Like the production and the mix, I get used to over time. It's mainly when the vocals are so loud, I get a bit thrown. But when they step back and just let the music do the talking, which happens quite a bit, it's really, really good listen. And I'm not trying to throw shade on Shane's vocals, it's just possibly the mix in this thing. And I had a remaster in 2009. I know that, I haven't heard it. I imagine that sorted some of these problems. It's probably why they remastered it. Yeah, this is just a solid album. The Path to Aquilonia, side A closer, that has the most variation on these songs, and it ends up being the heaviest. Like, you're just listening and it's going on its progressive journey, and there's lots of undistorted guitars, and there's sort of like wind chimes and all, and then it's just like, no, thrash, we will thrash now, must thrash, and it just absolutely fast thrashy thing, and Shane just holds a note, no, and just thrashing, holy shit, strap yourself in, THRASH is coming, and that's the end of the side. And yeah, that was very cool but unexpected, and side B is just as good. Like it's another mixed bag of things. So look, I like it. I've mentioned a few issues, but it is a good album. We'll take a look inside. So I said it's on Metal for Melbourne. So there's the yellow label there. This thing is practically minty fresh. I got this from another store. I got this from Melbourne shop called The Searchers. There's the photos of the band. There's Metallica. It even looks like a bit of a young Hetfield going on there. Look at that. Jeez, he really does. Cursive font lyrics. So another story with this one. So I actually ordered this thing about 6 months ago or so from The Searchers online on their store, and a bunch of other things, and I've showed the other stuff that I got in a previous update earlier in the year. And I got a message from the guy. I talked to him a little bit, the guy that at least stocks the metal section at Searchers, and he said, really sorry mate, but we can't find it. I have no idea where it is. That worked out to my favour at the time, because then he showed me all the stuff that was coming out onto the shelves, and that was all the stuff that I ended up buying and showed in that video. Some really cool stuff. I said, oh well, that's a shame, but if you ever find it, let me know. Out of absolutely nowhere, about 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, he sent me a message and just went, found it. It was just buried in the wrong section, like somebody probably threw it on the country or something, who knows. But he found it, and good to his word, he hit me up and did me a good deal because of the issues around getting it, and yeah, I was stoked. So there you go, THRASH with Queen of Thieves. Yeah, if you really like your Fates Warning kind of stuff and you want to hear some Aussies do it, check it out. The next one I'm going to show is the third album by this US thrash band, but it's the first time I've ever heard anything from them. It's the first one I've ever bought. This is Lars Rocket, Know Your Enemy. Look at that cover. Isn't that fantastic? It's kind of cheesy, but it's got explosions, and it is explosive action. I mean, that is explosive action incarnate on an album cover. Admittedly, I figured this was going to be kind of a cheesy band. I've seen that name around for a long time. I've never really investigated it. Lars Rocket, it sounds pretty cornball. I don't know what I was going to get. Something crossover maybe, some kind of party thrash. Didn't know what I was going to get. Never bothered checking them out, but this became available. I gave it a listen, and I liked it very much. Musically, this is pounding thrash with a heap of groove. Like, it is chock full of thrash groove, not Pantera groove, it's thrash groove. Early Overkill is probably the best comparison I can come up with. Really sharp riffs, high-pitched vocals, clean sung, very full and booming. Takes up a lot of the the soundscape with the vocals. It's almost exhausting listening to this band. They are just full on, so much going on there. It's really quite a good album, and lyrically, if you look at this thing, I mean, Know Your Enemy. Take a look at the cover on here, the back. We've got this amazingly titled song called Hiroshima. I thought it was great, and that one, Self-Destruct, Means to an End. I mean, it's all nuclear war, right? Okay, 1987, very topical of the time. It's just where people's heads were at. It's where the band's heads were at, and yeah, you get pre-apocalyptic thrash. That's what you've got going on here. Though this is looking like post-apocalyptic with that mess going on down there. But yeah, it's just power metal double kicks. They love the double kicks. Speed metal solos, but overall a tasty thrash onslaught. And I'm really happy that I picked this one up now. I want to check out more from this band. Yeah, Lars Rocket, there you go. Know Your Enemy. Take a quick look in here, nothing too exciting. It's on Music for Nations, so you get the cool Music for Nations logo. But any inner? No inner, so there you go. There's the band on the back, 5-piece, 2 lead guitars, and yeah, having a whale of a time there on stage. Looking, yeah, pretty well dressed. We've got something, yeah, not sure I'd be wearing that outfit, but anyway. Good stuff, good thrash. Lars Rocket, Know Your Enemy, recommended. The next two need very little spoken about. They're quite well known, particularly the last one, which I'll end with. But this first one here, this is one that was missing from my collection. I've got their second and I've got their third albums, but I never had. Coroner's Rip, R.I.P. What a ripping slab of thrash. If you like my wink at the camera. A ripping slab of Swiss technical thrash, to be more precise. Opens with a bit of piano piece, but thankfully there is no meatloaf involved here. This is just full throttle. Oh man, you can't really go wrong with the first 3 or 4 albums from Coroner, but R.I.P. really has that rawness. Like, it is their first album. It's quite early Voivody, early atheisty, sadisty, lots of that kind of stuff. Technical thrash, so good. But these guys, they trod their own path. They are a band you compare to, not compare to others. Definitely a good one. Being technical, super focused on the guitars, of course. There's the back. There's the is that the band names? The members there? I think it is. Little coffins or something. Bullets? I can't tell what's going on there. Anyway, I think it's funerary urns, isn't it? That's what that is. Where am I going? I'm going to shreddy solos. That's where I'm going with this thing. Very progressive, very cool solos on this. So many of them, I really love it. Tracks like Suicide Command, bordering on death thrash, really quite aggressive. Extra snarly vocals, some trem riffing in that. It is such a good album. The whole thing, Nosferatu's great track, R.I.P. on side 2. It's just great. It is ripping thrash, R.I.P. I keep using that pun because it's worth reusing. And look, a noise thrash collage, of course. Fantastic. There is the band there with Marquis, get it? Marquis de Sade, Marquis. Ron Worry and Tommy Barron, and he's got his, I'm not sure what he's got wearing there. He's got leather, leopard print, I should say. Oh dear, but awesome stuff from these guys. Yeah, I think it might be my favourite Coroner. Not too sure. As I said, anything up to but excluding Grime is good. Grime, not so good. But I'm really liking the grittiness, that rawness of this sound, so it could be, maybe it's punishment for decadence, I don't know. It's all good. Coroner, rip. Which brings us on to the 9th album, and what needs to be said about this. This is top tier 80s thrash. It is, should have been should have been in the big four. At least they're acknowledged as being the 5th member. Talking about Testaments, The Legacy, absolute smashing album. Another one that I have thanks to Brendan Von Doom pointing out to me that it wasn't for sale. So good. I mean, my personal preference would be to boot Anthrax out and make them the 4th member, but I'm not the first person to say that, and I shall not have that argument here. But this is just Testament. I mean, the shining achievement in Bay Area thrash metal right here. Countless bands have emulated this sound, this band. You wouldn't have second-tier bands from Defiance to Zentrix without this album, without this band. Arguably their best album. I don't think a lot of people would argue too much with that. I tend to like the New Order. I've generally gravitated towards that more. But listening to this on Wax, maybe The Legacy is my favourite now. Not too sure. Either way, those first two are just flip a coin. Awesome, awesome albums. The band apparently was meant to be called Legacy. I didn't realise that till I was looking it up. But apparently some jazz band had that name, so they came up with Testament instead, and now get thought of as a biblical band. By non-metal fans anyway. I mean, look at the track list on this thing. There's the band. Over the Wall, cracking Taboo song. Burnt Offerings, Apocalyptic City, Curse of the Legions of Death. All songs that are still played live. This is a cracking album. Look at this. Just, I don't know what else to say. Don't know what else to say. There's the band, Inner. There's the lyrics. It's Testament. It's The Legacy. May as well look at the black. Why not? There we go. Out on Atlantic. And I believe, as far as I can tell, first pressing. Also got the Megaforce Worldwide logo on there. So there you go. Testament, The Legacy. I'm just shrugging my shoulders because what am I supposed to say? It's thrash perfection. And that's it. 9 albums of everything from Torch to Testament. Heavy metal, thrash metal, speed metal, all 80s pressings, and all a good time. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe. Check out this one. Check out this one. See you next time.